So today I want to talk about the connection between love and wealth. And I want to start by saying that creating wealth is a very spiritual enterprise. It's not some superficial, unimportant thing. In fact, if we want to help create a world where, more heart-centered people have more wealth, then I think it's important that we admit this to ourselves, that it's very important. And Paramahansa Yogananda even said that to create wealth from a place of wholeness, from a place of service, um, not to be powerful, not to be anything, but just to demonstrate my unlimited divinity and to share it with the whole, to solve a big problem. That's a very amazing, that's a very important creative feat. The person that you become, the pureness, the purity, the heart-centered consciousness that you develop to be able to create and enjoy and build upon that kind of wealth in a way that gives back to others, it's an amazing creation. So I wanted to talk about the connection between love and money and my take on it. And primarily I wanted to talk about self-love. There's this idea in Cabala, right? And I'm not a Cabala expert. I'm not a Cabala teacher. I just started reading about Cabala at the beginning of this year. But there's this concept called evil eye, where it's like if you're jealous of someone, if you feel competitive with someone, if you don't want the best for someone, right? That gaze can harm the person on the receiving end of that perception. And surely there are no idle thoughts, right? The way we perceive is so important, that we bless those people that have the things that we want to create is so important than that we gaze upon them and feel envy or jealousy. And in fact, it's very easy to do this when you realize that the things that you're jealous of is just an echo of your shadow self, of your unlived self saying, you've put me in the closet. If you look at a fashionable woman that's very well dressed and elegant, and part of you feels lack, that's your shadow self saying, oh, guess what? You would love to express yourself with clothing. That's something you would actually love to do. And the reasons that you would love to do that implicate something so much greater than yourself. It's not about being fashionable. It's about me expressing my true individual flavor is of the highest service to the whole. It's very easy to say, wow, I see somebody having a child, like, wow, I'm going to admit to myself, having children and having reasons to express my nourishing qualities is very important to me. I bless that person for reminding me of these things. But evil eye as well in relationship, there's this correlation between, well, if you're in a relationship with someone who is threatened by your power, right? It could happen to both men and women, but I've had the experience of people in relationship, they don't really want an equal. They want somebody to pedestalize them. So if I no longer put them on a pedestal and I'm in my power and my wholeness, somehow they're threatened by that. And in my life, it's looked like I would send lots of clients to someone and literally over the course of years get maybe one client. And so I'm asking myself, what is this really about, right? Is it that he's giving me evil eye and so my wealth is stagnating? That's part of it. As I said, there are no idle thoughts. The way we gaze upon everything in our life has some effect, right? And the way it affects that person depends on their consciousness and how empowered they are. But I also want to say it's not so much about what somebody's doing to me, but what I am doing to myself. So why am I choosing? And it might take a little time for you to figure this out, that there's no circuitry in your relationship. Why am I choosing someone who doesn't support my business endeavor, who doesn't support my dreams? It's not that I need them to in order to create what I want, but surely there's an option out there where we can support each other. There's circuitry, there is reciprocity. So the real issue is my lack of self-love, my lack of self-respect, and my fear of everything I need to feel if I let go of this relationship. Does it mean that I'd be alone for a little while? Does it mean that I'd experience grief? Does that mean that I would be extremely more uncomfortable than I have been maybe in lifetimes? I personally was in a relationship constantly since I was 15 years old, and being single, not being in a romantic partnership, was challenging for me at first. Because I had to feel all these things that I've been escaping for a very long time. And if you suffer, for example, with like constipation, which a lot of people do, what is constipation? Constipation is not being, your body can't let go of toxicity, of waste. How are you doing that to yourself? How are you unable to let go of waste, of toxicity? And the toxicity is not necessarily, oh, that person is so toxic. I'm being toxic to myself because I see something, right? So step one, we have to be able to call a spade and say, you know, there is something off here. If you have heavy karma of undeservingness, unworthiness, self-loathing, self-hatred, it might feel normal for you to be in a relationship with no reciprocity. It might feel normal to you to be treated like an object that needs to perform for someone instead of another soul that should be supported and loved. It might feel normal to you. So first we have to address the issues of undeservingness, of lack of self-respect, of lack of boundaries. But if you're in a relationship, if you're waking up, you need to be honest and say, wait, there's something off here. Something off here. Like I keep giving and giving and giving. I invest my money, I invest my time, I send referrals, and yet why am I not receiving? Well, clearly you have a belief system around your deservingness to receive. Could be the case that you improve your belief system about deserving and the same person might show up differently, but very often the issue is more so, at least in my life, I can't speak for everyone. For me, it's been, can I face the fears that I'll have to face if I walk away from this situation? Because what I'm really being asked to do is walk away, right? The way I'm being asked to evolve, it's always us that needs to evolve ourselves. Sometimes the evolution is, I don't need to stay glued to something that I have already admitted to myself doesn't work for me. Love yourself enough that the space of uncertainty, grief, loss, loneliness, that should be much more attractive to you than holding on to something unkind. And that's really you being unkind to yourself. Love yourself enough to embrace the void, to accept the loving, all the love that will come out of that void, right? Once you go through the portals of grief and aloneness and uncertainty and chaos, there's so much more love there than choosing to stay glued to something that doesn't respect you, right? And it's really a reflection that you don't respect yourself. So is it true that, oh, people will leave a relationship with evil eye and all of a sudden they will become more wealthy? Yes, but what actually happened energetically? What actually happened? They finally had enough self-respect that they said, I'd rather be alone than be in this situation. That's more attractive to me. I love myself enough that I'm willing to face death. I'm willing to quit my intricate series of escapes, as Krishnamurti said, to escape the feeling of aloneness, which is a very, it's like the first wound, aloneness, separation. Of course, we have compassion that we spend so much energy trying to avoid it. But at some point, you take an inventory of your life and you say, holding on to this is not yielding to me. Therefore, the message is to let it go. Can I be brave enough to let it go and trust that what I don't know will be better than the known?